Okay, just going to give it another second. While we're just getting set up, I'm going to go over where I think everybody is teaching, and then everybody can jump in, and we can make sure I'm not missing anyone. And if we've got TOCs that we know of that are new to the district, if we can pipe up as well. So
I'm now officially recording, just so you know too.
Oh, thank you, because I forgot to record. So thanks for taking care of that. GMS is Kimberly Gorman. C&B is Craig Thompson. Boucherie is Gil Kafka. Myself, I'll have a student teacher this year named James Prescott. Moving that way across the lake, KSS is Sheila and Lisa Joy. Dr. Knox is Tamiko and Erica. C&B is Tom and Colin. OKM is Megan, and Rudy Cronhart will be joining her while Ed is on leave for the start of the year. So he's gonna start the year there with Megan. RSS, or Spring Valley, is Karen. RMS is Carmen, and Charlene is helping her out there. RSS, Sarah has joined. I see the RSS back, the background there for Sarah has joined Jeff. And George Elliott is Dave and Sergey. Okay. Did I miss anyone, schools-wise?
Just that Zach is,
oh, right.
He's not doing music, but he's at an elementary gig. Where the heck is he now? It's on the west side.
Is he full-time?
He's
or
at Glen Rosa Elementary.
That's right. Okay. And so he's going to have every Monday and Friday off, which is pretty sweet, but also really great for TOCing. So he will be available on those days to TOC for us.
And he will be busy.
Yeah.
Any new TOCs that we know of?
Maybe me.
And Sam? Pam?
Yeah.
I read the name underneath because you have
That's
Sam,
okay.
So
it's my husband's right? Computer.
Sorry, Pam.
Chris?
Anybody? Yeah.
Just so you guys know, Stephanie Schumer is working at a private school, so she is only available limited days, and Bob Gronowski is taking himself off until he realizes what the COVID situation is like. So we're down to more music TOCs.
Yeah, and there is they've split the job at Kelowna Christian School into two teachers. So Stephanie is there, and I forget the other gentleman who is there from the coast. So I'll send out an email with where everybody's teaching, so that everybody has that, and I'll include them in that as well.
Go ahead,
making
Sheila.
notes. Yeah, Sheila. Oh, sorry, Tom.
Sorry.
You'll be next, Sheila.
Sorry, Sheila. Okay, so Chris is wondering if you can give us an updated list on all of the TOCs. Do you know if some of the retired teachers are still on, like Dennis Kopitz, et cetera, et cetera?
Sheila, you're muted or quiet or
I
something.
think you're really quiet. There we go.
Still quiet, can't hear you.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Dennis is not going to be TOCing.
Okay.
Oh no.
You are quiet again, Sheila.
He's going to ask the district whether or not he can remain on the TOC list and not TOC because of Carol. He can't be in our rooms, so he won't be on our list. That's, yeah.
Sheila, never mind. No, I figured it out. Okay, so I'll send out an email with all of that. If you know of any other TOCs, Tamiko, was that a hand up?
Well, no, I just was reading through that document, and they were talking about how they want TOCs to be sort of like preferred ones for each school. And I was sort of feeling like that might be throwing a wrench into things for us here with this. I don't know if anybody's talked about that or whatever.
Yeah, it's going to be harder for us if we're sick or anything like that, for sure. I would think for this year especially, don't ever plan on having a music specialist in your room when, when you have your band classes. So a little drawer full of things that your kids can do when it's not a music specialist at the front of the room. It's easier for us high school people because the upper grades can kind of run their rehearsals themselves, right? But I think it's going to be really hard for middle school people. And James has joined us. Hi, James. Okay, and actually, James, is Janica on the TOC list for this upcoming year?
I believe so. She just got a job at Bankhead.
Oh, okay. So is she working full time?
No, she's 0.7. So
okay, so that might
Fridays free.
That sounds familiar. We were just talking. Zach's got the same schedule. Okay, so we'll connect, and I'll include her in the list of TOCs if James's wife is a music specialist as well. So, and Pam. So I'll reach out to people and get some schedules and stuff like that, and we can get some information out. Okay, shall we get going officially with stuff now? Okay. So schedules. Let's start going through that. I will start since I'm chatting here. Gil's not here, so I don't know what his schedule is like for the band portion of Mount Boucherie's program. It will be completely outside of the timetable, with one block of grade 9s in term 4 Copernican. So I will have grade 9s for 2 hours and 45 minutes every single day. Oh boy, I'm excited about that. So excited at this opportunity. So that's our schedule. Kimberly, why don't you talk about GMS?
Okay, GMS currently is trying to plan our learning groups of 30 or less around the band classes so that my grade 7 band, for example, is also together in all their academics and any other electives, so I don't actually need to social distance my students. I just need to keep well away from them all. So band is more or less running as it always has, linear. My grade 9s are interesting in that I have 2 learning groups coming to my grade 9 class, so I have to have a 2-meter no man's land in between half of my grade 9 band, and they'll have to enter at staggered times so they don't cross paths while they walk through my room, but I've got a solution for that. And we might need some bell covers or things for that particular class, but that's the only one I really have to worry about. Choir got canceled in the timetable this year because it's running in a flex block and it's multi-grade, and there was just no way we could work the timetable without completely redoing it, and that would mean hosing my bands. So sadly, choir is not happening, but jazz band is taking up the choir slot and being run as combos instead in the timetable so that we can still continue that. So I'm feeling pretty good about what I'm getting at GMS so far.
Yeah. Sheila, you've got the hand up sign. Was that from earlier, or are you good? Okay. All right. I don't know. Do you know, Kimberly, have you talked to Craig? I don't know what CNB's schedule is looking like. Last I heard, he didn't know.
Yeah, I spoke with Craig. He didn't know. He's feeling a bit discouraged about it, I think. I don't think he feels that he's going to, like, I think it's just he doesn't know yet, and he hasn't had a lot of communication is my understanding. But
okay, thank you very much. Let's keep going across the lake. KSS, Sheila, let's start with you. What's your schedule like?
We kind of don't know yet. We know some things. We are I will have like a jazz band 11 for the first 5 weeks of school in the morning, all morning. And then in the second 5 weeks, I'm going to have the 12s. And in the afternoons, they were supposed to go to English, but in the afternoons, only half of the kids are going to be there. So when Troy figured that out, he said he had to go back to the drawing board and change that because English can't have less than band for some strange reason. I don't understand that, but so actually we kind of know, but we kind of don't know. My jazz bands are in the timetable, and my choirs are outside the timetable.
Oof, that 5 weeks, that all morning thing. I know that's something I'm not looking forward to.
Well, and I thought it would be 10 weeks and that I would see them every other day. And that, still I feel is better than 5 weeks every day.
Yeah.
And at first when Troy was talking about it, it sounded like Lisa Joy, can you maybe tell me if you think this is right or wrong, but I thought that in the afternoon we were still gonna get our groups on those opposite weeks with opposite days, right? Like, because I thought it would be one day 11s, one day 12s, back and forth. And then
if nothing has changed, that's my understanding. In the afternoon we'd have, well, because I don't have another group backed with them, it would be like it makes more sense to use AB to me, but one day would be your group A, one day would be your group B.
But you would only get half
alternating.
Of them. But you would only get half of them.
Half of A,
time.
half of B, the other half of A, the other half of B.
So you might see them once a week or twice a week. But that's actually going to change because he realized that he was not giving English enough time, which doesn't make any sense to me, but that's what he said. So I've asked him to clarify what the change will be, if any, and I haven't heard back yet.
Okay, Lisa Joy, your schedule, what does it look like?
Well, it will be the same as Sheila's. I just have one group in the timetable, so that's
okay. Well, you have sound too, right?
So we're looking at for bands, it will be like during one we have like 8 mini terms, full mornings, one of those mini terms, and alternating something afternoons. But the full mornings are alternating with English too, as far as I know. But if Troy's changing it, I don't know.
I think that's still happening, which doesn't make sense when he thinks that they're not getting as much as us, right? Because they would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't understand, but I didn't understand at our last meeting. Now I've come up to speed and again don't understand why he would say they're not getting as much in English.
All I can say is that he said that. So
okay, I'll ask him.
Maybe what he's saying is that they're not going to get English while they get band, and maybe English was going to be in the afternoons when they were having to split our classes in half.
Does that have anything to do with the 5-week switch where you take your morning class and flip it to the afternoon?
It totally does.
Yeah.
So I think what he was saying is that for 5 weeks, I would see my 11s every day, not English. They wouldn't be alternating is what I think he was saying.
So if you're doing it every 5 weeks, but then you would get them in the afternoon, that alternating? Huh. So they are totally Copernican? You get them for a term and that's it?
No. It was
Troy's confused.
I think he said 5 weeks on, 5 weeks off, and then another 5 weeks on, 5 weeks off because it's linear with English. So it would be one of those 5 weeks would be the morning big full-time blocks alternating with English, and one of those times would be the afternoon. But it's a dance that I don't understand.
He didn't say that though. So I think that's what he'll come up with, Lisa Joy, because I think in his mind he had band in the mornings the whole time and English in the afternoon the whole time. Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I didn't pick that up, but
let us know once they've got everything.
Something.
Once you've got it all sorted.
I talked to him after, and so that's where I got that information from.
Can you send me an update once you have everything sorted and finalized? And then thanks. Okay, let's go to Knox. Erica, Tomiko, what are we looking like at Knox?
Well, it's supposed to be semestered rather than linear, just like at KLO, but we don't really know. We're meeting with our admin today to, I guess, find out what that actually looks like. So we don't know other than the semester thing, and they're trying to do like 2 big blocks a day. So like 4 of the 8 courses in the first semester, 4 in the second semester, and then you'd alternate days. Like A, B in the first Monday, and then C, D in Tuesday, and back and forth like that.
So in other news, does anyone have any information on singers' masks so I can keep a choir running?
We'll talk about that later on.
Again, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Erica and Tamiko. Colin, Tom, what's the schedule looking like at KLO?
Same as Knox.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's funny, last week on Monday, I got in and I thought it was going to be the same schedule as Kim Gorman's because I fought for it all summer. And then all of a sudden the staff chimed in and they said, we do not want to meet. Want to meet as few students in a day as possible in the classes. So they only wanted 4 classes a semester. So I think, the principals just went straight over to that. On Wednesday, I found out. So not good.
And that's all the way through from beginner to grade 9s?
Yep.
Okay.
So
right.
Blocks 1, 2, 3, 4 for the first semester, and then blocks 5, 6, 7, 8 for the second. And so I have half of my grade 8s in the first semester and half of my grade 8s second. Same with the grade 9s. And choirs first semester.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Megan, can you outline, I know there's still some stuff in flux, but can you outline OCAM?
Yeah, so our concert bands, 9 to 12, are all in the timetable, and they're running in quarters but linear. So we're gonna, for instance, do our grade 9s in the first 10-week chunk, and we're keeping them every single day, but for 1.5-hour blocks every day, backing on to social studies. So we'll have them for that way in quarter 1, and then they'll go away for 10 weeks, and then we'll have them in quarter 3 again. And then same thing for our concert band, senior concert bands as well, except they are, that's term 2 and 4. And then just the other complicating factor with them is then obviously when we're doing them in 5-week chunks, right? So that's 5 weeks in the morning where you'll get them every day. And then when it switches to the afternoon rotation, we'll get them half the group. We'll still get them every day, but we'll only be taking half of them at a time. And then all of our jazz bands and combos and choir and commercial music are all running outside of the timetable as normal. That's the gist of it.
Thank you. Carmen, do you want to talk about RMS?
So I don't have a lot of information yet. Most of my job is exploratory, and it's going to run pretty much the same as it ran last year for exploratory. So kids come in their cohorts. They don't have to be masked and they don't have to be social distanced. Only I have to be masked and social distanced from them. And that's what my day looks like. I don't know if they're going to be running an enrichment block on Wednesday mornings, which is where I had my choir. I don't think they will, and I don't think they'll let me do it because it was multi-grade. So I don't know about choir yet. That's probably going to get kiboshed. Band was always outside the timetable, but they don't have a course selection because that's the only course that kids can sign up for. And that didn't happen last year until like the last week of June when I created something and sent it out to the schools. And I only had 3 parents respond to the Google form. So I don't know what my numbers are going to look like. And usually I go around to every class at the beginning of the year getting kids to sign up, which I can't do this year, but we'll see. So I don't know what my bands are going to look like. I just know I have exploratory.
Thank you. Carmen or Jeff, do either of you know what Spring Valley will look like?
Nope.
I heard like back in June from Karen that they were changing their exploratories. I don't know if they had an influx of kids, so they had to hire more prep teachers and split up the division. But she was only going to get music for 2 out of the 3 grades. But that was the last I heard back in June. I don't know if anything's changed.
Yeah, I had heard about that too. Okay, I'll reach out and see if we can get anything from Karen. And Craig was the other one. Jeff, Sarah, do you want to talk about RSS?
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say that I'm so thankful to be in this process with a teaching partner at RSS. We finally did it. So I'll speak for my courses. Immediately, we spoke to our admin about getting everything or as much as possible outside of the timetable and into bigger spaces, because our ensembles are all either 10 to 12 or grade 9. So we're going to be doing concert band in the gym, socially distanced. Jazz band in my room. We did the math and we can fit the jazz band kids in here just. Guitar and commercial music will be in the timetable for the 10-week periods, and obviously then they'll be in learning groups and they don't need to worry about physically distancing. I think that's it for my classes. Oh, musical theater is a big question mark right now. I don't know if anybody else can comment on what musical theater might look like in the next year, but
I think you're the only musical theater class in the district as a full musical theater class. I don't know of any other school that's running anything.
OKM is, but I don't, I'm not 100% sure how the music aspect of it is working. That's going to be part of Rudy's choir, I think, teaching time.
Yeah. So because I do the vocal coaching and then Joe Ward does the acting component, like that's a lot of kids from different learning groups and 2 teachers, plus it's a logistical nightmare. So that'll be TBD.
Okay, thank you. Dave, do you want to talk about George Eliot?
Sarah, yeah. Anyways.
No, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, sorry, Jeff. Was there more? I'm sorry.
I have choir outside of the timetable and concert band out of the timetable as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Dave.
So we are meeting with admin today to go through, I guess, more Sergey's schedule. I've been told the beginning band for grade 7s is going to happen in 10-week segments, and that's it. That's kind of the final word. The only option they gave us was to do a 5-week in term 1, 5-week in term 2, and with renting instruments, that doesn't sound like it's going to fly in terms of just my own opinion. So basically we're the 10-week schedules across the board with all of the classes, and in terms of space, we're looking at trying to utilize the Creekside Theater as a classroom, but we're still waiting on official numbers of what we can put in there. Sergey and I are kind of putting the gears to our administration to tell us what will fit in a place versus us trying to make it work. Our administration's been radio silence until yesterday with our staff, so our staff has had very little communication and input. And yeah, I also know that in terms of, like, just Jeff, to make a point there, I was talking with our vice principal, because I helped with the grade 8 cohorts, and for our grade 8 groups, they're putting all the band kids together. Teachers do not count, apparently that's what the district has said, in terms of the cross of the bubbles. So even though you see a bunch of different groups, you don't count in terms of the cohort bubbles. So I don't know if that helps in your math situation there.
So we were told that we did count as crossing over.
Nice to see consistency,
so I guess we're getting different answers.
Yeah, maybe my admin's just ignoring it to make our school work. I think our school probably has the most complicated schedule as a whole because we're a middle school inside of a high school. So I know our grade 7s are basically running 4 classes a day to make their schedule work, and the high school kids are taking 2 classes a day. So we've got teachers that teach elementary or middle school and high school classes. So maybe they have to ignore it just to make it work, and it's an exception for our school. So don't know, but that's kind of the update on George Eliot. We're gonna try to make a better solution, but as it stands, we're 10 weeks in, 10 weeks out on these kids.
Thank you, Dave. Did I miss any schools as we went through everything? Okay. All right.
Sorry, I was trying to say Canyon Falls, sorry.
Oh, Canyon Falls, thank you.
I don't know if you're still
there.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
My video, my video isn't working. I don't know what's up with my computer right now, but I can see you all and I can hear you. So, yeah, Canyon Falls is I'm still learning a little bit, but it sounds like grade 7 band and grade 8 band will meet twice a week linearly for the whole year, which is pretty good. And then the rest of my schedule is general music in pods, grade 6, 7, and 8. And I guess they'll be in 10-week segments all the way through. So it's pretty straightforward. They're trying to run it as close to last year as possible. And I don't know, the admin isn't really that worried about stuff. They have a plan. And the problem I see, though, is the bands will be completely mixed bubbles, because the grade 7s are going to be split into 3 or 4 different learning groups. But I'm going to see all of them at the same time. So apparently it's going to work with distancing, and I don't know, but we're figuring it out as we go here. So.
Oof, that's tough.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, I got just a notice that we only have 5 minutes remaining in our Zoom time, and our IT pro needs to upgrade our subscription to Zoom. So I don't know what's going on, but we'll probably lose the meeting in a few minutes. I don't, Megan.
You can just reopen it right away and it just
same
restarts.
Meeting? We can do the same meeting? Okay, great.
Absolutely.
So not if, but when we all get dumped, just join the same meeting again. Thank you, Lisa Joy. Okay, any questions about schedules while we're on that?
It's so depressing how different we all are, like even across high schools and middle schools. You know, why can some people get it worked out and other people can't? Like, it's just distressing. I know for us, it's to do with the size of our school, right? But
and still. One of the, you know, and I'll steal a little bit from something I was going to talk about later. That was one of the things that Megan and I have been working on pretty much since the end of school, since before school ended in June, was trying to get some top level philosophy out of the district of what they wanted the schools to offer. And that just didn't happen. I don't think we really had any engagement on anything until August, right? Yeah. Like mid to late August. A lot of that was they didn't know. The district didn't know. And now at this point, to try to come up, like my opinion obviously is that while they could have come up with a philosophy, an idea, a driving force to build all of the timetabling around, that they could have used as a guiding force for all the disparate schedules that we're going to end up having, but we don't have that. So
remember in that last meeting, I mentioned that they had talked about Copernicum, right? Troy had mentioned that.
Yeah. Well, and
didn't do anything.
The message too that we've been getting throughout summer constantly has been, we've been saying, well, we need let's get it the same across the district. So we're all, you know, in the same boat together. We've got an even kind of spread of how this can work in the best situation for everyone. And the response multiple times coming back was, well, every teacher can just talk to their administrator. Like, just you guys figure it out at every school-based situation. So finally, we didn't get any kind of a response that we could come up with a district response until, like August, what was it, 17th or something?
Yeah. And even then it's like, oh, well, here's health and safety stuff. All the other stuff's already being dealt with, but health and safety, here's the health and safety. So anyways, so that was definitely a frustrating part of our summers. We tried to work on your behalf. Okay, let's end this meeting and restart it right away before we start any other conversation, because it's gonna end us here. So I'm just gonna straight up end it. Megan, when we get back into it, can you start recording again, please?
Bye, Kim.
Okay. Bye, Kim. Okay.
Yeah, it seems the district deactivated Zoom deactivated the free extended accounts in July. So everyone's limited to 40 minutes now.
Fun. Good times.
Hey guys, I can't figure out how to put my hand up. Sorry, I've never used Zoom on my computer.
Button.
Oh, thank you. I've never used Zoom on my computer before because I was on mat leave when you guys all learned how to do this.
They've added some cool buttons.
Yeah, okay. There it is. Before I leave, I don't want to like ruin the meeting order, but I am going to try and get a microphone order. I sent out an email. Sheila pointed out that there's ones with battery packs. I've asked Dominique to give me a quote for both types of microphones so that we can have our voices amplified freely and not project aerosols. For those of us who are teaching in multiple learning groups, I figure it's just a layer of safety that our admin and parents will really like. I like it as well because I can really push the kids away and not worry about them hearing me. So let me know by Monday. Would be just not to order in, but let me know by Monday if you're interested in working with admin to buy one at your school, and I'm going to put an order in as soon as I can.
Yeah, in the email that I will, before you head out, in the email that I send out after this meeting, there will be some homework for everybody on a couple different things that we'll need some information back on. The other thing, even if your admin, another way that you can push this with your admin or suggest it with your admin is that many music teachers often have issues with vocal nodules from talking at that push volume all the time. So having voice amplification really, for a lot of teachers should just be the baseline of what you have in your room so that your health and safety is a top consideration.
Yeah,
thank you, Kimberly.
So, yeah, thank you guys. Sorry to run. Have a good meeting.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Megan, do you want to talk about sort of and I know Kimberly did a little bit of work on this as well, can you talk about some of the documents that you've looked at and some of the information that you're putting together?
Yeah, and so I'm sure you've all delved into the BCMEA document a ton, but I thought it was, am I doing weird sound things? Is that okay?
No, I think somebody's speaker is on.
Oh.
I'm just gonna mute you, Lisa Joy, until there. I think that's what it was. We're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it wasn't on my end.
Yep.
Okay, so I thought that it would be important, we might as well as a group go through it together, just some of the basic points, and then also just to kind of have it like the main bullet points pulled out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna share my screen. Oh, Jeff is still waiting to get in.
I got him. I'll take care of it while you're talking.
I'm gonna share my screen here.
Jeff's there twice.
Okay.
Jeff is just twice as cool as the rest of us.
Did that work? You guys see that?
Yeah.
So this is all just mostly from the BCMEA documents, just highlighting, like I said, the sort of main important points of it. I need to say that I've kind of had a hard time wrapping my head around some of the safety guidelines that are in these documents and how they conflict with the studies that we've seen from the states, like the Colorado study, etc. When I first got into the BCME document, that's one of the biggest things you see right off the bat, right, is the Colorado study findings of what they recommend. And so I just had it in my head, well, that's what we all have to do. But then when you dig into it a little bit farther, that's not what is being suggested and pushed or required by the province and the ministry. So it's a little conflicting, but anyways, so we all know that learning groups, if students are in the same learning group, we should have them distanced apart as much as possible, but they do not have to be separated by the 6x6 square bubble. Even though on page 10 it does say that they recommend that you do that, but it's not necessary. And I've already been told by my admin that, I have 30 grade 9s in 3 different blocks each time, and that I can fit 21 kids distanced in my room, but you're going to fit 30 in there because they're all from the same learning bubble. And it doesn't matter if it's music, there's no difference regulations at this point from the government between music and academic classes. So
sorry, 1 second. Go ahead,
sorry?
Sheila.
I'm just going to say, which goes against the Colorado study.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying at the beginning, is that not a lot is in there from the Colorado study. They've put it in there for your information, so you can see what the studies have said is the safest, best approach to do, but it's not the direction that the province is going in. Am I pretty, does that make sense what I'm saying, Chris? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Which we can debate that till the cows come home, but I will say maybe just off the start that my principal, I have a new principal at OCAM, and I've talked to another administrator yesterday as well, and both of them said the same thing. And so this is not official district thought, but this is what many of them have said to me, is that when we were in March and June, the goal of the government was to prevent people from getting sick because they didn't know where it was coming from. They didn't know how it was spreading. They didn't know how to control it. And so it was lockdown, stop people from getting this virus. Whereas now they have shifted to, we know people are going to get sick and all we want to be able to do is trace it and track it and control it. So I think that for me, that made a huge click in my brain when I was reading these documents saying, well, masks are what is recommended. Why are we not all wearing masks? It's because they're not, in my opinion, wanting to prevent people from getting sick, and they know teachers and kids are going to get sick, and it's just a matter of controlling it. So that's what I have been told, and I'm feeling is why these are in place this way. Anyways, I'll continue through with these and then we can talk about it maybe in more detail for each one if needed. So no distancing if you're in the same learning group is needed. If you are coming from students that are not all, classes that are not all from the same learning group, which will be many of the high school classes for sure, and from what I'm hearing, some of the middle school classes as well, then you do have to have a 6x6 bubble around every kid physically distanced. And you need to figure out other spaces or other rehearsal schedules if that's not possible. Teachers that are not organized into learning groups must maintain a physical distance of 2 meters from all of their students. So if you are teaching kids from other learning groups, you constantly have to be distanced, which goes against what someone was saying earlier about that, but that's the guideline from the BCMEA and the ministry document. If you can't physically distance yourself, then you need to be able to explore things like a transparent barrier or some kind of plexiglass situation to block aerosols from you. And if you can't do that, and only after that, then you explore using a mask or face covering. This is what the guidelines have said. Extended day classes can continue with all the same requirements of above. Absolutely no sharing of wind instruments, no sharing of microphones, and that includes like if you're team teaching in a classroom with another teacher. So we talked about how we're going to put together an order for people that don't already have a PA set up for that. The no sharing of class materials, and that we need to come up with a good distribution method so that people aren't touching them. We all know that no concerts and festivals or overnight music tours are happening. We can still be bringing in clinicians, but they just have to physically distance and do a health assessment every day.
Concerts, hold on one second, Megan.
Yeah.
Concerts can be done in alternate ways. Like one of the things they mentioned in the documents was having pods of performers and people moving around in a structured way through those performers. But no traditional band, couple hundred people in the, or for OK, I'm sorry, couple thousand people in the audience. But yeah, so it's just no traditional concerts.
Okay, I missed that part. I have to go back and look at that then.
Yeah, I could have made a mistake, but I'm pretty sure.
Oh, you probably didn't.
My principal has said that we can't bring other people in our classroom, clinicians, etc.
That does not follow the district guidelines. That may be a choice that he is making. However, district guidelines and the BCMEA document, which the district guidelines point to as if you want more information for music, go here. It's the official source. Does say what the safety precautions need to be taken for people coming in from outside of the building. So if you want some help with that discussion, let us know.
Thank you.
Sorry, Megan.
Yeah, okay, and then just continuing on with washing our hands, washing your hands, washing your hands at all times, encouraging kids to do that. With respects to the layouts of classrooms, music specifically, I know that in the Colorado document and many other research papers, the idea of air cycle and rehearsal time has come up a lot, and that it's been recommended that you do a 30-minute rehearsal playing time maximum and then allow a full air cycle before you start playing again. That, however, is not being followed by, it's not being followed by the ministry or the BCMEA. In the BCMEA document, it simply says that they recommend you give additional breaks during in-class rehearsals. So it's up to every individual teacher, I suppose, to figure out how they want to approach that.
Yeah, and we did ask health and safety for the specs for the HVACs for all the different rooms, and they said they're working on it to get that to us, so that at least we have an idea of how long it takes for what my goal would be to be able to let you know, just for your own information's sake, how long it takes for your room to cycle the air, to get one full cycle of air through. Sorry, Megan.
No, that's great. And the standard in the industry is 20 minutes, but we all know that who knows what the HVAC system actually is at your school. So, but hopefully it's somewhere around the 20 to 30 minute mark, I would imagine. For vocalists, when possible, sing outside. Yeah, for a whole 3 weeks maybe when it's not raining. It says that students should be singing facing forward in a single straight line, not in a circle or facing each other. And then this I found interesting. It says singers should not be singing behind or above others. But in the document, they showed a picture of, the room laid out the way they would suggest it. And it was people in front of each other, like rows of kids. So I find that a little conflicting. Are they meaning that you need one single line and that's it? Or I was confused by that. The conductor should create as much distance between themselves or use the barrier. And if that's not possible, use a mask or face covering. But I think most of the mask or face covering recommendations are for you, not for your students to be using, because we can't be mandating that students wear masks unless it's coming from the ministry saying that they must wear masks in this situation. There's a really great document on singing called Let's Sing Safely, considerations. And so that's a great one. I've got a link in the document there to check out for more information. And then for music instrument rooms, they must all have a sink with running water, soap, and paper towels. So please reach out to COMEA if you don't have that, so we can help advocate for figuring out a solution to that. Hand sanitizers and the wipes that we were using in June. And then a disinfectant agent used for instruments and mouthpieces specifically. So we are trying to secure a district supply of Sтерosol for everybody so that we all have an easy access. Don't worry about it. You've got a bunch of Sterosol at your school to use for that. No instruments besides large string instruments, percussion, and piano can be shared. And then if students are using those shared instruments, they must be washing their hands before and after they use them. And then pianos should be cleaned and disinfected after every use. And that the district, when I was rehearsing in June, the district supplied us with food grade disinfectant that they have said that kills the virus and has been used in food classes. And it was safe to use on mouthpieces and things like that. So that is what they had us using for cleaning pianos, drum sets, that kind of thing. So you should have access to that at your school, and make sure you talk to your health and safety person at your individual school if you don't, because the district does supply that. Percussionists should have their own sticks and stick bags. I guess we should be doing this, I'm assuming, versus custodial. I don't know who this falls under, but a sanitation routine for the end of the day on all of the shared equipment should happen.
Megan, one quick question from Dave. Is that the peroxide mix for cleaning pianos and stuff?
I don't know if it was a peroxide mix. I don't think so, but I'll find out specific for you. I'll get the exact product. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if it's us that are doing, I'm assuming it's us. Like, I just don't think the custodians are gonna do this or have the time to do it, but that we need to clean every single piece of equipment that has been shared or touched by students at the end of the day, or it says in between classes if the same students are using it, which is a lot. Water keys, they can't be emptied onto the floor, and you can't use a central location like a sink or a garbage can. Because it allows more dispersion of aerosols. I guess they need it to be trapped into something that's going to absorb the disposal of that. So puppy training pads is the suggested route. They said paper towels can be used, but it's not great, especially if it's those brown paper towels that we get at our school that don't actually absorb anything. You'd have to layer an insane amount. And they are supposed to be individually used, one per kid, and thrown away at the end of every class. So that's crazy for the environment. It's going to cost a lot of money as well. But we're looking at the options to that. At the BCMEA town hall meeting, people were looking at like meat packaging pads that you put under meat trays, and different things to see what kind of solutions we could come up with. But we're trying to source something at the district level again, so that it takes that off of you having to find that.
But our kids don't have to social distance in the classroom because they're in the same learning group, and they don't have to wear masks, and they don't have to put things on their instruments.
Except that most of our band kids won't be at high school. Let me rephrase that. My band kids won't be in the same learning group. Like none of my, because I'm all outside the timetable. RSS will probably be the same thing. Outside the timetable, they're not going to be in the same learning groups. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like they pick and choose. I feel like it looks like they pick and choose what is the easiest thing to follow versus what is maybe the best. Okay, moving on. Just specific to all classrooms, vocal, instrumental. That's just more about the physical distancing again, that learning groups have to be, non-learning groups have to be distanced. Where nobody should be curving, instrumental and or vocally should be straight lines facing forward, and just the sharing of stands should be as least amount of movement as possible. And I think that's the main points from the document, and I'll maybe pause there and let any conversation happen, and then I think later on in the agenda, Chris, you have me talking about the next section, which is the masks and PPE that we've been looking at for teachers.
Yeah, so any questions?
I'll stop sharing my screen here too.
What about outside? I don't think it says anything, but do we want kids getting up, walking out, going outside, emptying their water key, coming back in? Just disinfecting stands. It does not mention that at all. Does it, Megan?
Well, yes, it does. That's part of
okay.
Yeah, that's part of the shared equipment that at the end of the day, or I don't think in between every class, because that'd be like asking every classroom teacher to disinfect your tables, your desks in between every class. Like, it's not feasible, right?
Yeah. What I did at the end of June, or what I was told to do by our custodial staff, was to leave chairs and stands that were used, instead of putting them away on their carts, was to leave them out, and custodial would wipe everything down with their cleaning solutions that was left out. Jeff?
I guess for RSS, because we're going to be hauling gear in and out of the gym every day for rehearsals, that kind of throws a wrench into that philosophy, hey? Like,
yeah,
you can't sanitize it, put it back on the stand cart, and then take it back to the music room. And
might have to have kids take their stuff. It will take longer.
Yeah.
But you know, the kids take their stand and their instrument to the gym instead of a stand cart being wheeled. That might be a way that you have to look at it. If that might be less time consuming than cleaning every stand, because everybody's going to touch it.
True.
I don't know. That's just a thought.
Yeah.
More questions. Oh, Erica, buckets and containers. So I don't know about a container with paper towel on the bottom, but buckets and containers were not recommended for water keys.
Yeah.
So,
Even if they Bucket? Yeah, we've been doing like little Tupperware containers for everybody.
It didn't get that specific. Like it didn't say no Tupperware containers with paper towel in it, but they did say no containers.
Because I think
right, no
the
buckets.
idea is that then you have that container, the kid is taking it home, I guess, is the idea, is the individual is with them and they take it home and wash it every day. I think that was the concern, because then you're taking that container that hasn't been properly cleaned and disinfected and moving it elsewhere and putting it in other parts of the school and whatever.
Yeah. And Tom, it mostly talks about when kids come into your space, not necessarily about when they leave. So if everybody's responsible for the kids when they come into their space, then that should take care of that problem.
Although for kids that are on shared equipment like drums and
yes,
keyboards, it's before and after.
Yeah. Okay, moving along. We're good for questions. Okay. Conversations that we had with the district. The start of this, like starting in June, going into July, it was almost, I don't know, the first few emails that we got back were like, why are you bugging us? Teachers should just be talking to their principals. Their site manager is actually the term that I believe that was used. Like, this isn't a district thing. Why are you, you know, trying to get assistant superintendents on this? This is, talk to their site manager. Finally, after a couple of emails back and forth, we just, I think, stopped getting responses, got passed along to district health and safety, but that was through CODA.
Yeah.
We really never got the district to engage in, hey, let's talk, let us help. And we tried really, really hard to approach this as us offering our time to take the load off of the district. Instead of, we have grievances, please hear our grievances. It was like, wow, this is tough. How can we help? We've got some ideas. What can we do? Let's team up. Let's work together. Let's get this solved. And it was very, very, well, just talk to your principals. So that's what ended up happening with a lot of the high school people. Ended up have been talking to our principals since July, right? Health and safety has gone a little bit better. We sent, Megan and I worked on a long email with all the condensed stuff from the BCMEA document, though we went a little bit further. We got the okay to get prices. We don't have the okay to purchase anything yet, but to get prices for the plexiglass, for masks, bell covers, singing masks. We can get quotes and all that, and then come back. We can get quotes for the voice amplification, although I think that's going to be a more of a, so we'll talk about it later, but more of a, we source it, but you talk to your principal sort of thing. So we've gotten minimal engagement. It was nice when Susan from CODA said that the district was interested in our input. They wanted to know what we had to say. And Dave from Health and Safety was pretty willing to listen, although we started our email with, this is based on the BCMEA guidelines for music ed, blah, blah, blah. And the one sentence response we got back from our 3 or 4 page email was, is this based on the recommendations from the BCMEA document? Yes, it is. And then so we went back and forth a couple times on just some details and hadn't really heard back. He gave us the okay to source prices and stuff, and then mentioned that we could look at getting purchasing involved. So once we have prices, we can look at that. So we'll talk at the end of this. We do have some homework for all of you because we'll need numbers for everything. So overall, we've been working pretty regularly. I'd say probably once a week, we've had some sort of touch base with the district on some different stuff. And overall, just trying to get this to be a safe and workable environment for all of you in the upcoming school year. So that's kind of what's happened over the summer. Any questions about that? I think both Megan and I can agree on this. It kind of sucked. It was not the most collaborative environment I've ever worked in, except with Megan. Megan was super collaborative. Okay.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. You're welcome. Okay. So since I see no questions about that, let's talk about the Music First stuff, and I'm just going to pull up my email so I can tell you some prices. Now, we are not over the license limit for getting a big deal on Music First. What I have been able to do is get a $100 off per school. They'll waive the fee for all the schools to set up. So where's my quote? That's not it. Just trying to get you there we go. So for me, I looked at 150 seats of Music First Classroom. The setup, they waived that, so that'd be $100 less. Aurelian Musician, Note Flight, which is digital notation software, which I use a ton with my combos. Practice First, which is for my younger grades. I'm kind of, like a little bit like George Eliot. I've got some of the younger grades. So it's kind of, Practice First is kind of like a smart music-ish thingy. It's a bit different. Sight Reading Factory, and Soundtrap, which is the digital recording, which I started to use at the end, which I really liked, and I know Jeff works as well. So it was about $2,600 for my school, but that was before the discount they were looking at. So if anybody wants to do some math per kid, 150 or 26 divided by 150 ends up being what? I can't do math. I see calculators coming out. Thank you. You're my favorite people.
Just like $10, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So a little bit more than $10. $17.
Yeah.
Thank you. So looking around there, let's say $17 to $20. But that's super everything, because that's what works for my school. So we could cut out some chunks of that for different schools and make that work. The district has given me the okay to see, we got the $100 off. We could either invoice per school, we could invoice at the district, and the district splits it. I am going to push, and I know I'm going to get it okay, let me rephrase that. I think I'm going to get it based on previous years through my learning resources. I know at KSS when I was there, at CNB, and here at Mount Boucherie, every time I've gotten something like this, whether it was Smart Music or Musician or anything like that, it always comes from learning resources. So it doesn't come from my budget. And I spent about 2/3 of that last year on the stuff that I used, and I got that approved. So yes, you can split it up totally of all those parts. I just sort of have the package that worked best for me. So if you break it down, and these won't be exact costs because you get a discount the more stuff that you order. But for example, Aurelia and Musician together. Okay, so this is adding it to, because I got Music First Classroom, which is sort of a centralized hub for everything. Those were $3 a seat. But I think they're usually $3 to $4 a seat each, Aurelia and Musician, if you don't get Music First Classroom. And then Practice First was $3 a seat, adding it to Music First Classroom, which by itself is $4 a seat. So to get Music First Classroom and Aurelia and Musician and Practice First would be somewhere around $4, $5, $6, $7, $11 per kid per seat that you were looking at. So there's some mix and match available there. It is online based, Tom, so it can be used at home or at school. I haven't used it in a few years. When I did it at KSS, I brought all the kids into a computer lab to use it, but it says that it is iOS friendly. Sheila, Lisa Joy, or anybody else, have you been using Aurelia Musician in the last couple of years? Are kids able to use it on their phones?
I used it over COVID, and I'm pretty sure they did use it on their phones.
Okay, so that's a big thing too. And for me, the big one too was the Soundtrap, which they can, another 10-minute thing. It was a way for them to record to the cloud collaboratively. So I really liked it.
Awesome. It's
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm going to use that whether we're in class or whether we have to quarantine again. So, again, like I mentioned, at the end of the meeting, I'll send out an email with some homework for everybody. For this part of it, I will be asking how many seats and what do you want. You will not be expected to commit 100% until I get you an exact quote for your school. But I want you, pretty sure that you want to look into this if we're going to go through the process of getting a bit more detailed quote for each of the schools. Yeah, and then you'll get $100 off. Whatever, if you want to look at prices and stuff, you can look at their site, get a quote, and then take what is it called? What do they call it? The setup and getting started thing, $100 off.
And Chris, did you say to me before too that you can, I don't know if you already said this, I'm sorry, but you can recycle seats?
I have not talked about that. Thank you. For those of you that have non-consecutive time, you can recycle the seat to another student. So if you have something in term 1 and 3, or let's say something different, you have something in term 1, 2, something different in 3, 4 for Knox and KLO, you can use one license for 2 kids. But when you recycle it, my understanding is that you lose the data for that first kid. So once you recycle the seat, all the data that you have on that first kid, it's gone, and they can't use it anymore, but a new kid can. So that would be good for the non-consecutive and for the semestered people. Questions? Yeah. So all I'll ask for you about this is which software you want and what number of seats that you want. And you'll need to be fairly accurate, please and thank you, on the licenses. Any questions? Okay.
Sorry, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
What was your deadline? When did you want that information by?
It'll probably be next week. I will send it out in the email. I'll give you a deadline when I send out the email. Okay.
Question?
Yeah.
Sorry. There's no harm in getting like extra licenses, right? Just in case. No. Okay.
I'm gonna have a little bit of a buffer in mine as well.
Good.
Sheila.
And we need to make sure that we're really accurate as far as term to term when we don't have, all of our kids, so that we're not buying more than we need to.
Yeah, I would put a little buffer in there for myself, just a little bit, but yeah, you don't count. If you've got 30 kids in semester 1 and 30 kids in semester 2, don't count 60 kids. Count like 35. Okay. Was that it for questions? Okay. Voice amplification. So there are 2 parts to this. Number 1 is safety-wise aerosolization of our teaching voices. I know that when I teach, I got my booming teaching voice. I have been known to yell once or twice on tour, so I can project. I can't do that. I can't use that tool in my toolbox this year because it's singing at full volume, like at a resonant and big sound, and talking at that level has been shown to increase aerosolization. So there's that part of it. Second part is vocal nodules. I know that we're all going to be stressed this year. It's going to be a harder year than many of us have taught before, and that's going to, really clamp things down on our vocal cords. We've had several of our teachers in the district who've had to work through vocal nodules. It's not fun. So this is something that you can bring to your health and safety administrator, and in my opinion, should be able to pretty easily request something, especially when we're putting something together that's researched, that is not just trying to spend a bunch of money or anything like that. Kimberly sent out an email to, I don't know if it was all of COMEA, but I will include it in the email that we send with some options for what we're looking at. I know that I was able to scrounge stuff together from some of my personal gear and from stuff at schools with very little purchasing, and I'm going to have a little Sennheiser over-the-ear thing with a battery pack. And Kimberly's got some options for you as well. So I am also more than happy, and I know there's a few other teachers in the district who are PA savvy. I hate to volunteer other people's services, but I would be happy to go into school classrooms and help people get things set up. And I'm sure that if we put the call out, some other teachers would be as well. If you're worried about getting your own system set up, we can help you out with that as well. Questions? I think right now the cost for the first one was around $450 to $500. So that's a pretty good deal. To be blunt, having looked at this before, I was thinking it was going to be 6 or 7. So I think around 5 is a pretty good deal. And Erica, one of the options is a system that you use, right? For the
I have 2. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
We'll show you them.
Thank
so
you.
this is an old one that I purchased years ago, but it still works. So you guys have seen me at festival wearing this and yelling at my kids on it. So the microphone goes around your waist on a belt thing. That's that sort of speaker, excuse me, goes around your waist on a belt thing. And then it comes with a headset that plugs in. Now the downside of it is this still has a cord, and sometimes you catch the cord and it annoys you. But I don't know what they have now. This is called a Voice Buddy, if anyone's interested in it. And then, sorry, my kids are in the background here. And then the second thing that Tamiko and I have are head mics, and we'll grab a head mic, and that's the standard one. Tamiko's just sitting on the side of me where she can hop up and grab it. We have two head mics, one in each room.
And it has a PA.
And it goes through our school PAs like this. The only thing that's annoying is it gets a bit uncomfortable after you've worn it for a long time, especially if you have earrings up there in your ears. Or glasses. Yeah.
So I think,
I'm going to mute myself before my kids come on.
The one that Kimberly sent out a quote for is the second one. I don't think we have a quote for the first one with the speaker on the belt. Sheila, just 1 second. I know that Kimberly's also looking at a quote for one with a battery pack, like with a little body pack, which would be attached with a cable, like a lapel mic, except instead of a lapel mic, it's just a headset mic. I don't think she's getting a quote on the Voice Buddy one. I would be happy to look at that if anybody wants to. Just send me a message. But I would worry about wearing the speaker all day while teaching. The weight of it for me, just adding a little bit.
The Voice Buddy also came with a lapel mic originally, but I hate it. I like having a mic like that I can jam into my mouth like that and make loud.
Wait. I was looking a little bit at the Voice Buddy this morning, and they have all kinds of different microphones as well. Like they have ones that just sit on your neck here, or they have like a pencil one that you could put on a stand. They have all kinds of different ones, and those kind, and a few different varieties of the kind that go on your ear too.
Mm-hmm. Mine's an old one, right?
Okay. Sheila.
I was just going to say that I was looking at it this morning too, and that there were quite a few varieties. The one I was just looking at is $288, but I don't know if that was an American price. I hadn't got that far. I don't think so, because it says .ca, but.
Is that a Voice Buddy one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we're looking at that. So that'll be in the email, and you'll need to let us know so we can help you source that as well. That'll be a cost that you'll have to talk to your principal about as well, to see about getting that covered from your school. But again, it's a health and safety thing, and it's really hard for administrators to say no when you come to them with a valid health and safety thing, right? If you're worried about it and they're not interested as far as the aerosolization, just talk about vocal nodules.
I had an extremely difficult time getting one. Finally, because we had a vice principal change, I ended up getting one last year. She was fantastic, but I tried.
If you have issues, oh, go ahead.
Chris, I'm sorry to say this, but in order to get them, I have to have a letter. So my letter is from a speech therapist, and I have one from a doctor. Like they don't just give them away. I don't know if it's different in the COVID climate, but.
Yeah, but if you have issues.
Expensive.
This is so much fun. We should have our meetings stop and restart, like just all the time for fun. It could be just be a fun game. We could have a square, like, you know, one of the grids of you know, when somebody who's due to have a baby, when they're going to have the baby, and we could put bets down on when the meeting will. Oh, man.
I bet
Sorry,
after
everybody.
40 minutes.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's just short version of this. We'll have information on the email. If you want us to source something for you, you let us know and we will take care of that. If you want to do something on your own, great. If you can let me know if you go a different direction so that I have some idea of some different tech that's out there, that would be wonderful.
I was told it would come out of my budget, by the way.
It should not. It is a health and safety thing, and I'm more than happy to talk to health and safety at the district level about that, because it's not about you getting something for the kids or getting something for the program. It's about your health. It's the same thing as hearing protection comes out of health and safety, right? Our hearing protection, as should any sort of voice amplification, especially in the music classroom. Music classroom is not like...
I'll be teaching outside my room, right? So I need that portable thing.
Yeah, and I don't know about TOCs, Pam. That's another question I'll ask. You won't be able to share, right? That's the one thing. Okay, and just so that we know, I have another meeting with my principal at 11, so we're working on a bit of a time deadline. So if I speed things up and I sort of squash over stuff, I apologize in advance. Okay, plexiglass. I will need to know how many of you are working in a situation where you will not be able to distance from your kids so that I can accurately source out plexiglass for those classrooms. I know MDSS is going to be really, really tight. I think Sheila was mentioning that you're going to use some bigger spaces. I don't know, Lisa Joy, if you're going to do the same thing. Is that not
no,
the case?
Well, so far I'm only going to be in my classroom, but I'm not sure. Like it's barely, maybe just a fit. I'm still kind of working with the numbers and the equipment, bare minimum equipment. Like, so, but the question of whether I can socially distance from them is, there's no room for me to,
right. Yeah.
Regardless,
so
I don't know.
What I'll need to know from everybody is whether or not you can. And so measure out your rooms, or as Dave was saying, it's perfectly reasonable to expect your admin to be able to figure that out. This is an operational thing, not a teaching music thing. So if you want to put that on your admin, that's a really good idea. But I will be sourcing plexiglass, so I need to know from those of you and a rough idea of what your setup is like. Megan.
I just want to add in there too, I do think it's an awesome idea to push our admin to do as much as possible, but they are, again, in an insane situation right now. So there's a very good possibility that they're not going to have the time to do it in the efficient level that we need it to be done to be ready in time for school startup. So that's great, but if you can't get a response from them in a appropriate time, then I would say it needs to kind of come to us if we want it there.
Oh yeah, and they definitely have no idea what equipment can be where to maximize space and things like I don't feel like they would be able to capably do that.
No, but there are like health and safety people at your schools that should be able to determine the number of people that would be acceptable for a room, not depending on equipment or anything else. So if they give you a number that's based on no equipment, then you can adjust from there. But I think it needs to come from health and safety versus me as a teacher saying, I think I can fit this number here.
There's an online calculator.
Yeah. Chris, I wrote in the chat.
Yeah, I saw. We can talk about that as well, because it is in the BCMEA document if you're unable to socially distance. They might feel that you're able to socially distance. It might be their point. Okay, So that's something that's going to be some more homework for you. I'm sorry that we're piling on the homework here for you. Megan, can you talk about PPE, please? You're muted, by the way.
Sorry, I just, when everything shut down on me, I lost my screen here. So I want to go back to the screen really quickly. So just give me 1 second. Sorry, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I got to log into my Google. Okay, almost there. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen now here. Oh, I'm not a host. I can't share my screen.
Oh, let me make you a co-host. And there's James again. There we go.
Is someone recording again?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, so if instrument masks are something that you are wanting to look into or you think will be necessary because of the space that you're in, or the distancing you can't do, or it's just something that you feel you want to pursue, I think, at your school because it's been recommended on so many different platforms, we want to make sure we have an easy way to order stuff in and that we can get it hopefully as cheaply as possible. So we've researched a lot. There's no one in Canada that's making instrument or singer specific masks that we've been able to find. But there is a company out of Texas that is making these masks, and they're coming back with really good reviews from a lot of the directors in the States. And they're reasonably priced when you compare them to other sources out there. So you can see, if you click here, this will take you to the website so you can see all in more detail. But it's just a mask sewn with a very specific slit for the mouthpiece to fit through, and it fits all mouthpiece sizes for the instrument wind playing mask. And then there is a flute mask that has like a little flap that comes over top of the flute mouthpieces. And then your flute slides through it. And I think that it's kind of like those ones that have straw holes where you can, put the straw in and then close the little flap again. It's that same kind of concept. And then the singer's masks, which allow a lot more movement and space, so you're not sucking the mask in and your jaw is able to move well, are there. And then the bell covers. They have bell covers for every size, including the flute, which is, I thought, pretty awesome because that's a small little bell cover. And the masks are like, I think, $16 to $22 per, 22 being the vocal mask as the most expensive one. And then the bell covers are roughly the same, like 14 to 20, 18 bucks, I think, is the most expensive for the tuba. And they make ones with French horns with like holes for the hand to go into the bell. Yeah, so the big caveat with these is that there's no way you'll get it before the end of September, early October at the soonest, if we get on it and order it next week, because they're just like overwhelmed with orders from the States. Most of the schools down there are required to have every student wearing them. A lot of them are anyways, so they're overwhelmed. So if it's something you want to explore in your classes, same thing as the plexiglass, we'll just need you to have very specific numbers for us. And the types of instrument, how many flute ones you want, how many instrument ones you want, and then we will do our best to price these out for you and see if they can be covered at the district level. But if it's not required with physical distancing and all of the requirements in the government doc, I highly doubt that it will be covered at the district level. That's it.
Yeah, Carmen, it's through Tapestry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dave, I reached out to Dave and I asked him to source this company and any other, because he didn't have any other, nobody did. I asked Wentworth, I asked multiple stores if anyone was looking at this. Dave did say that he was a little leery to start ordering them in because a lot of teachers sometimes in Vancouver, he said, are actually now reaching out to their families, and the mums are sewing masks for the band program because it's cheaper, and they're creating their own situations. And because it could change so drastically, he doesn't want to be held with a bunch of stock. So if we order these, it's like you're buying them. And he's ordering them very specific. He's not going to bring them in per se just to have. But the good thing about going with them, obviously, is that he's already got a US shipping situation sorted out, and it'll be a little bit, he's not making any money off of them. He said he just needs to cover the cost of what it is to get them here, and then that's that. So are there any questions on that maybe before, and I'll unshare my screen now. Okay.
Okay, I think that was sort of the biggest stuff that we want to talk about in the meeting today. Biggest thing is to make sure that you're engaging with your admin. It sounds like most of you are chatting with them now. I know that last week there were still a few of you that hadn't yet had those conversations. You know, the more we advocate and the more we educate now, the better things will go for us in the future, as with everything that we do. So we're unfortunately not in the position where we can kind of wait and see what our admin come up with and then kind of work with that. I know all of the high schools have been working on this stuff for a while. And it's just about engaging with our admin. Any questions or comments, anything that we want to add before we end the meeting here? Okay, so you can expect an email from Megan and I with some homework for you, and I think mid next week for all of the information that we ask for. It's about the longest we can wait for, unfortunately. So you'll need to get class numbers, and if we end up looking at the thing about masks, I don't know if Megan mentioned this, really with it, it's not being mandated. So this is going to be a push on your level to get it for your schools. I don't think we're going to get district funding for this. And I don't know how much buy-in we're going to get from principals for something that's not mandated by the ministry. So all of the stuff that we're looking to do basically is COMEA is going to help source stuff, help you with your administrators, but the district's not really looking to, I think maybe the plexiglass would be the only thing.
Yeah.
If we manage to get it, that the district might go for, paying wise.
With regard to bell covers and things like that, and Carmen mentioned this, would we be able to do a second order for beginner band? Because if, you know, if they don't know whether they want to play trumpet or flute, you know.
Yeah,
I think so. It's just time, right? How long it takes for it to come in.
Yeah, we can be ordering it, I think, as many times as we want throughout the year. As the situations change and stuff, it's just a matter of being able to plan ahead that it's going to take maybe a month or more to arrive, right? Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your Friday morning. It was wonderful to spend an hour and 40 minutes with you chatting music stuff. Please keep communicating with Megan and I or any other members of the executive. We really want to help you out. We want to make this very stressful, tough year be as easy as possible. So just reach out and we'd be happy to connect. When we go, Sheila, Lisa, Joy, can you stick around for a second, and Megan too?